It seems these days nobody can have any sort of fun without annoying someone. Because I don't know if it's just me, but don't you all feel that people are a little, well, oversensitive recently? Take the case of national carrier Malaysia Airlines, who managed to incur the wrath of some people who took offense to this picture of a Wagyu steak because they thought it was porcine. My sympathies aside for people who have never had good steak, Mas had to clarify that it was, of course, not, but also that the word pork would never again appear on their magazine. Well, I have heard this urban legend before that if you say that word 3 times in a mirror, a gigantic roast will pop out. Oh wait, is my sarcasm a little insensitive? People are so sensitive these days that they see agendas in everything. Take this poor man who just wanted to cut loose at a party and dance to what we should all agree is the most uncle song ever, Chubby Checkers' Let's Twist Again. Only to be told that people his age and his position shouldn't be dancing, and they certainly shouldn't be keeping a certain type of company. You know, there's a legend about people like this, and it's called Footloose.
And in it, a great hero named Kevin Bacon. He teaches an entire city full of people with sticks up their butts that dancing, well, it's the greatest thing there is.
It is actually amazing what a tight white tank top and 80s anthem maker Kenny Loggins can accomplish. If listening to Danger Zone doesn't get you pumped, nothing will. But the fact is that a lot of people do feel that we have become a society that can't take an off-color joke or needs safe spaces for everything. Think pieces like this from The Guardian ask that question of students, who these days seem to take to the streets to protest anything. The argument, of course, is more nuanced than I think some people care to debate. Because while we may want to start with a safe space to not be judged, how long before we end up with an emotional support peacock? Yet, if you ask why we seem so easily offended these days, some will pin it to this one phrase: political correctness. That's because people these days are so afraid of offending each other that we now feel the need to overreact. But as with most things, we originally came up with the concept of political correctness to balance the scale, to encourage tact and sensitivity to other people's feelings when it came to gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, physical abilities, and so on. But somewhere along the way, as with most things that humans do, because quite frankly we are garbage, it became twisted into something else. The term itself has become so contentious because you could just easily sub it with acceptance or inclusion and it wouldn't raise as much irritation. But yes, there have been examples of political correctness gone insane. This article by The Economist gave an example how at one conference, it urged its delegates to use jazz hands instead of clapping because the noise from the clapping would trigger other delegates. So, has political correctness gone too far? No, it hasn't, because toxic culture still exists. And even worse, the same article points out that the term political correctness is now being used for more cynical means. It is a smokescreen, essentially, for aggressivism. As such, easily used for some to justify their racism or political agenda. If you Google political correctness, I don't think it is a coincidence that most of the top articles come from the very right-leaning sources, the likes of Fox News and Breitbart in the States, and those are the most extreme examples. Take this whole issue with Thomas, for example. The way people like past President Abdul Hadi Awang was going about it, I honestly thought Thomas had done a mashup of Hotline Bling and Dying Inside to Hold You, uploaded it to YouTube and called it Slay. The fact is that Thomas's election to AG was already heavily scrutinized from the start, with people nitpicking everything from his language skills to his race. So it was almost too easy to criticize him for fraternizing with people like de facto Law Minister Datuk Liew View Keong and the likes of Datuk Ambiga and Siti Kasim. Never mind that the whole bunch of them were simply just pulled on stage for one song, which again we have to agree is the most uncle song ever. And that was it. It wasn't really like back in 2016 when then AG Tan Sri Muhammad Apandi Ali was criticised for dancing with the BN ministers, given the fact that the former ruling government was neck-deep in the 1MDB scandal by then. But political correctness isn't just about safe spaces and being a so-called special snowflake. It can actually boost workplace productivity. In 2014, Cornell University ran a study where participants were divided into mixed and same-sex groups. Some received instructions to be PC or polite, while others weren't, and then asked to brainstorm. The groups that received instructions to be politically correct appeared to boost the creativity of the mixed-sex groups. Jack Goncalo, the professor running the study, said that the PC norm, by establishing a clear guideline for how to behave appropriately in mixed-sex groups, made both men and women more comfortable with sharing their creative ideas. So, what now? For me, the most important thing is to see all these overreactions for what they truly are. Overreactions. No, it is not us being too sensitive or the fault of political correctness. Rather, it is the pushback of people who for the longest time were used to being the majority, who were used to setting the agenda, who now feel threatened because they are scared their way of life is going to change. But rather than greeting it with outrage or dismissing it entirely, which is actually very dangerous, we will need to have certain nuanced conversations about this. It will be uncomfortable. It will be painful. And to be frank, I am not sure that most of us will actually have them because it's simply easier to just yell at each other on Facebook. But we need to eventually move the needle back to center, lest we forget how quickly you can swing from being in the majority to the minority. And above all, do not tempt the wrath of Kevin Bacon. So while we can dance, everyone, dance. Just dance like the whole world is watching. Just say.
It's time to fight.